Okay, so before we get into the array list, let's talk about collections. So now C# includes some classes that stores series of values or objects. Anything, those classes or anything like that, they are called collections. Basically, it's just collections. We can store more things. It's actually part of collections. So there are two types. There are two types of collections that are available for us. These what we call non-generic collections and generic collections. So you see now we've already have system.collections.generic. Okay, there is also system.collections namespaces which contains non-generic collections. So by default, when you create a C# program, is going to come with a generic collections. You can always use that one, system.collections, if you're going to use the generic, the non-generic collections. Okay, so but in most cases, it's actually recommended to use a generic collections because they perform faster than a non-generic. They actually perform much faster. I suppose that's why it's actually included there by default. They call it system.collections.generic. And also it can minimize the compilation errors or the compile time errors that you might get. So now we have few collection classes in the generic. So the first one, we've used it before, the list. Okay, maybe I did not explain it, but you saw me using the list, var students equals to new list or something like that. So that is a generic content. So that generic, it contains the elements of an object specified type. You saw there I specified a type. I said something like var let's say students is new list. So this specific expects the type of the list. So if you've got a class which is still there, I can make the type of student. So but if you want to do the system type, then you can go with string or integer or whatever that you want. Okay, so that's a generic class as well. That's a generic, it falls under generic classes. And then also we also have a dictionary. So a dictionary contains a key value pair. For instance, I can have let's say I can say dictionary. This is new dictionary, and I can pass the int and then I can pass the string. So in this case, meaning maybe I can say maybe on the integer it's something else, maybe it's the account number, and then a string is the account name. Okay, so it's a collection that contains a key value pair. So this is a key and this is a value. You see, it's more like you can think of it in the easier terms as a field and a value, a field in the data. Okay, and then you also have queue. We're not going to really get into queue that much. So a queue stores values in this order, in a first in first out order. Okay, so it keeps the order in which the values were actually added. Okay, it provides, and there is also an enqueue method to add the values, and then dequeue method to remove or to retrieve the values from the collection. And then you also have stack. The stack is just the opposite of queue. A stack stores the values in last in first out. Okay, it provides, there's a push method to add the value, and the pop and pick methods to retrieve the values. Okay, and there is also a hash set which contains a non-duplicate elements, so it eliminates duplicate elements. Okay, so those are generic collections. So when it comes to non-generic, we've got the array list. Anyway, yeah, we're still gonna do it anyway. So we've got the array list. The array list stores objects of any type, just like an array. Okay. However, the only difference is that there's no need to specify the size of the array list, because it will grow automatically. As it, the more you add stuff in it, the values on it, then it's gonna grow. And then we also have the sorted list. It's just the sorted list stores the key value pairs as well, but what it does, what's different between it and a dictionary is that it's gonna automatically arrange the elements in the ascending order of the key by default on the sorted list. So it's more the same as a dictionary, but the only difference is gonna automatically arrange the elements that you stored there in ascending order. And then the stack method, or the stack, it stores the values in the last in, first out. So like I said, it provides a push method to add the value and the pop and pick to retrieve the values. And then we've got the queue, restores the value in, first out. So it keeps the order in which the values were added. That's the difference between the queue and the stack. Hash table, maybe we're not going to get that much on the hash table, but also the hash table stores the keys and the value pairs, but it retrieves the values by comparing the hash value to the keys. Okay. All right. Now let's quickly start with the array list, and then we're gonna look at the list, and then the sorted list, and then we're gonna look at the dictionary on the collections. So that's all we're gonna do. Now, the C# array list is a non-generic collection of objects that whose size are gonna increase dynamically. Okay, it's the same as the array. It's the same as array, except that the size, except that the size will always increase dynamically as you add. Now, also an array list can be used to add unknown data type, where you don't know the type of the data type and the size of the data. Okay, so this is how we can actually do it. So I'm going to remove everything here. So I can say var customers, and I can say is new array list. Okay, notice it's not there because it is by default it's a non-generic. So by default, C# recommends we use generic. Okay, so we need to import that. This is how you import the easy way. If you don't know maybe the class or the what you need to import, then you can just go over and show potential fixes, and we can just say using system.collections. Okay, now we have these collections. Okay, so now just to add the values, I can just do something like this, and I can say 2, and you see I did not specify the type. Did not specify the type. That means I can add some values there, and you see, and yeah, I was like trying to think of the name. Oh my word, I think after this we must take a break. We can also add a null value, we can also add a boolean, and we can add a floating or decimal. We can also add null. All right, so now we can always look through it, and it's just gonna print those values. Okay, so if we use for each, and I can say cars or var cars in customers, and I can just console dot write line cars. Alright, so if we compile this, then we get all of this. So we get 2. So you can store like different value data types there. We've got 2 John, empty string there, which gives us like nothing, and then there's a boolean value, false, and a floating number there, or floating point number. Okay. So it does come with so you can also, like, if you declare it without adding a value, then you can also say customers dot add, and then you can just say maybe you want to add Mary. Okay, so you can also use the add method. It does come with the add method. You can also add a range. So you can say add range if you're gonna add a couple of things. So maybe I've got another array somewhere here. So let's create one. Let's say I've got int, and then I can say accounts. Okay, and I can say this is new actually let's use like this, let's do it like this, and I can say 542 whatever. Maybe these are accounts that are associated with customers. Now I can add that accounts to this array by just doing customers dot add range, but which range? The accounts. So I can always do that. So you see now when we compile this, then we get all of these accounts as well. So we added an array inside another array in an array list by using the add range method. Okay. So you can also use the queue or enqueue method, but maybe let's not do that one. So to access the value, then you can always use the index also. So you can use the index. You see here we're just looping through everything, but if you wanted to access this or the name John, so you will say console right line customers and then square brackets index, but index is this 1. So okay, now we also did the iteration using the for each. You can also use the for loop. So in the for loop you can go something like for, and then you're gonna say int I is 0, and as long as I is less than the, let's just do the accounts one. Oh, shall we do it? Yeah, it's less than let's do customers. I think you can use count if you want to, dot count, and then you're just gonna increment I. So we increment I, and now we can just console dot right line customers I. Okay, and so if we compile this, then we can see that iteration. Okay, never mind the first for loop. So this is the latest for loop. Never mind the other one, which was for the for each that we created. Okay. So there is also inserts method. So you can always insert. Just say I can always do like customers dot insert, and I can say, so it takes 2 parameters. I can say on index 1, where is John, I want to insert Chris. Okay, so in index 1, where it's supposed to be John, it's not going to remove John, but it's just going to push John down and then instead of John coming first, then Chris is going to come first. All right, let's see that, and then you can see now it brings Chris and then John, because we just inserted John there. So there's a couple of methods. There's also insert range if you want to insert another array, of course. Okay, so you can also remove. If you want to remove, you can just say maybe you want to remove something there. Yeah, if you want to remove John, then you can just say customers dot remove. So is it remove add? Yeah, remove add. Actually, the IntelliSense was right there. John is where? No. Remember, we inserted Chris on index 1. John is index 2. We want to remove index 2. And then if we print that, then we do not have John anymore. So we do not have John. So basically, that is how we can manipulate the array list. So there are properties on the array list. The capacity just gets or sets the number of elements that the array list can contain. You've got a count, gets a number. You see here we've used a count as well on the for loop. It gets the number of elements that are contained in that list. And then there's another one. There's another property is fixed size, which gets a value whether to see whether the array list is a fixed size or not. Is it a read only? There's another property, so it indicates whether the array list is it a read only. And then there's also item. So the item it gets or sets the element that is specified index. Okay, and then when it comes to methods, we've used some of them like add, insert range, remove range, insert add, contains. So there's a couple of methods that we get there on the array list.